Good morning, everybody. You know who I am, but what you don't know is that I'm a scientist. I am. I study God's world and what He created. And I love learning about rocks and fossils and minerals and the sky and the oceans and the fish and the birds. Today, though, we're going to talk about dinosaurs. And the reason we're going to do this is because when you watch television, read most books, talk to most people, if they say dinosaurs, they're thinking evolution, Earth is millions of years old, and things like that. But the Bible says something very different. And we're going to talk about dinosaurs in relation to the Word of God. Our question is, how do we put dinosaurs into the Bible? The Bible does not use the word dinosaur. It doesn't say anything about dinosaurs. But why should it? The Bible is a story of Jesus, not the story of dinosaurs. So, in biblical history, what are big parts of biblical history? We have God creating, and then Noah's flood, the Tower of Babel. Those are the big parts of biblical history. Dinosaurs fit into that, but sometimes not as easy as you might think. But when we read the Bible, you turn to the first page. The Bible says that God created the entire universe in 6 days. The first thing He did was create light. And then He has this big ball of water that He separates into the waters above and waters below, giving us the oceans. And the third day, He creates plants, which is the food for everything. On the fourth day, He creates the sun, moon, and stars. On the fifth day, He creates all the flying animals and all the swimming animals. There are big lizards. They're extinct. They're no longer here today. They used to fly. They were huge. Quetzalcoatlus. The wingspan of that lizard was bigger than I am tall. And there's pteranodons and all sorts of other things. Those were created on day 5 of creation week. But then in the oceans, there are gigantic reptiles in the oceans, mosasaurs and chronosaurs and that long necks, and they had flippers. Those are not dinosaurs. They're different. There's a lot of different things in the fossil record that we see. God would have created them on day 5, the flying ones and the swimming ones. But day 6 is when He created all the land animals and when He created Adam and Eve. Day 6 is the day He created the dinosaurs that walked on the land. So what day did God create dinosaurs? Very good, very good. But looking at a dinosaur, you've seen pictures of them. How are they different than a crocodile or a snake or, I'm going to go through some of the things that separates dinosaurs from all the other ones. Dinosaurs, their legs were underneath them. Look where my legs are. They're underneath me. I'm standing on my legs. Dinosaurs did the same thing. They stood up on their legs. All of the other reptiles alive today, the lizards, snakes, no, not snakes, snakes don't have legs, but all the other reptiles except for snakes, their legs stick out to the side. So a dinosaur stands up, and all the other reptiles, their legs stick out. That's the big difference between them. But if we look at dinosaurs, we can also divide them into 2 different groups based on the shape of their hips. When we look at the bones inside dinosaurs, notice this bone sticks backwards behind their back leg, but this one sticks down. This one sticks forward, but this one sticks down. It's like they can either be pointed this way or pointed this way. There's 2 different groups of dinosaurs. These are the lizard-hipped dinosaurs and the bird-hipped dinosaurs. That's what they call them. But when you look at the hip of a dinosaur, your hips, you have a leg bone here that connects to your hip. And it connects like this. My hip has a hole in it, a bowl. And the head of this bone is called a femur, has a ball. And the ball goes into the bowl. That's your hip socket. Oh, that's weird. But when you look at dinosaur hips, they're not built like us. they actually have a hole in their hip. So no matter what kind of dinosaur we're talking about, these three bones come together and there's a hole there. The reason I show that is because a lot of people believe that birds evolved from dinosaurs. No, I don't believe that. A bird has a hip much more similar to yours than to a dinosaur. They don't have a hole in their hip like dinosaurs do. There's a bird. What a funny looking thing. When you take the feathers and the meat off of a bird, that's what a bird skeleton looks like. Do they have a tail? Yeah, yes. Little tail? A bird tail, even if they have long feathers like a peacock, they actually don't have a tail. Those are just feathers. A tail on a bird is really small. It's only a couple of bones. It's very stiff, and the feathers stick onto that. Have you ever had a dog that was happy and wagging its tail, and the tail hits you, and it hurts? Why does it hurt? Because there's bones in this tail. My backbone ends right at my rear end. I don't have a tail like a dinosaur or like a dog with bones in it, or a cat. Birds don't have that either. Their backbone ends, and the little thing's called a pygostyle. You like big words? Pygostyle. That's the tail of a bird. Has feathers sticking off of it. But look at the knee of the bird. Which way does your knee bend? Look at the bird knee. It bends backwards. What is that? How come their knees bend backwards? Well, the answer is that's not his knee. That's his heel. This is the bird foot. Think of giant long feet. Their leg bone here, this part, is actually up here in their, right against their ribs. They breathe through their legs. Their leg bones are hollow, and the air goes through their leg bone. Birds are weird. Dinosaurs aren't built like that. Dinosaur leg bones look much more like ours. This right here is not way up there, it's way down here. So a dinosaur leg and a bird leg looks very different. In fact, dinosaurs have three toes, right? And birds have 3 toes. But the strangest thing is, this is a bird foot. This is a dinosaur foot. Birds often have a spur right here. They actually have 5 fingers. They're just, one of them and 2 of them are like distorted and look really weird. But the 3 front toes on a dinosaur are different than the 3 front toes of a bird. Huh. Okay, what birds are now? One more thing. Next time mom is making chicken, ask her if you can look at the chicken. I want you to look at, the rear end of the bone of the bird to see if there's a little thing there and what that thing is. And I want you to look right here on the bird. Because a bird, they have a thing that sticks out. We don't. We're flat on the front. They have a thing that sticks out. It's called a keel. It helps the white meat anchor to the bird, and it makes their chest muscle stronger, so it helps the bird fly. It's right there. See that? It's a thing that sticks out. It's a keel. And dinosaurs don't have that. But birds do. We don't have that. Birds do. You okay? Have you just learned a lot of things? Oh, there's a lot more. We hear a story of what happened to the dinosaurs. I've heard the story many times. The story goes like this. Many millions of years ago, a big meteor hit the earth, and it caused so much dust to go into the atmosphere, it cooled off the earth and killed the dinosaurs. How many of you have heard that story? Wow. That is not the story of the Bible. That's a different story. But looking at this, that's how they try to explain, how a lot of people try to explain what happened to the dinosaurs. The ash went up into the atmosphere, got very cold and dark, all the plants died, therefore there was no food, and that's what killed off the dinosaurs. The funny thing is, though, that buried with dinosaurs are turtles, and turtles are still alive today. And crocodiles are still alive today. And butterflies. Butterflies and moths are buried in rocks right next to dinosaurs. We find their fossils with dinosaur fossils. and they're still alive today, and they're very fragile. So if a meteor cooled off the earth and killed the dinosaurs, how come the butterflies didn't die? Don't know. That's a great question, isn't it? So my point is this. When we look into the past at things we didn't see, how do we know what happened? We didn't see it. Maybe mommy and daddy remember, so they can tell us about something. But what about before mommy and daddy's life? Maybe grandpa and grandma might remember something. But what about before that? There becomes a time when no one was around to see what happened. So in the Bible, we have a history. We have a history of Noah's flood. There's only 8 people on Noah's Ark. It doesn't tell us very much what happened in the world, but during this flood, the dinosaurs got wiped out. But because Noah didn't write about dinosaurs, we can only make some guesses about what happened, because history is not the same thing as today. These are some dinosaurs. You've heard of Triceratops? Yep, there's Triceratops. Have you ever heard of Pachyrhinosaurus? What? You a bunch of dinosaur nerds in here? Okay, well, these are some of the ceratopsid dinosaurs. There are a lot of other species. Microceratops is not there. Protoceratops is not there. Those are little ceratopsid dinosaurs. These are the big ceratopsid dinosaurs. They're all kind of similar, aren't they? They have a beak. They have a frill. They have some horns. How many species are there? I ask that question because that's something that scientists wrestle with. The Bible does not use the word species. It said God created these animals to reproduce after their kinds. And he doesn't say how many kinds he created. I'm looking at this. Did God create all of these different ones? Or did he just create one type of ceratopsid dinosaur that maybe one of them is big and one of them is little, one has 3 horns and one has 2 horns? Watch this. What is that? 2 dogs. That's the world's largest dog standing next to the world's smallest dog. There is a lot of diversity amongst dogs. There's a lot of diversity amongst cats. There's a lot of diversity amongst dinosaurs. There's a lot of diversity amongst people. Oh. That doesn't mean we evolved. It means when God created, he put a lot of information into the dogs. And over time, we've been able to breed tiny little dogs and giant dogs. Now, think of that when we look at the fossil record. I think God created ceratopsid dinosaurs, and in those ceratopsid dinosaurs, he created lots of diversity. And that's why they look like that. Doesn't mean they evolved like that. They were created like that. But when we look at the fossil record, we're going to learn some big dinosaur names. There are only about 50 basic kinds of dinosaurs. Look, here's the ceratopsids. We just talked about the word cera starts with a C, not an S. Science. Anyway, ceratopsids are those guys. And then we have the duck-billed dinosaurs, the hadrosaurs. And then the ankylosaurs. They look like little tanks with the clubs or spikes on their tail. Ankylosaurs. Here's the stegosaurs with the plates on their back. The sauropods are the long ones. And then we have the theropods. What's a theropod? This is a theropod. It's the dinosaurs with the little front legs and the big back legs and the big jaws. Now, when they started discovering theropods, they looked at them and said, oh, these are predators. Why? If you ever seen a goat or a sheep, where are their eyes? They're on the sides of their head. But lions, the eyes are on the front. When an animal is an herbivore, it always has to watch out for the carnivores. So they look sideways. But the carnivores are just looking at what they're going to eat. So we're told in science, not always true, the carnivores have eyes in the front and the herbivores, the plant eaters, have eyes on the side. There are issues with this. Look at Tyrannosaurus Rex. He's got 6-inch long. What's that? 15-centimeter teeth. How would he have originally been described? Is he a plant-eating herbivore? No. Is he a meat-eating carnivore? Okay, who says he eat plants? Nobody. One person. All right. Who says that he ate meat? Okay, look at that. How do you know what he ate? Have you ever seen one eating? No. You think he ate meat because you've been told that he ate meat. But the reason you've been told that he ate meat is because his big old pointy teeth. And the eyes in the front of the head and the strong claws. The problem is the Bible says something very different. Let's read what the Bible says. This is God talking to Adam. He says to Adam, I've given you every herb that yields seed which is on the face of all the earth, and every tree whose fruit yields seed. To you it shall be for food. Also to every beast of the earth, dinosaurs, and to every bird of the air, and to everything that creeps on the earth, in which there is life, I've given every green herb for food. Okay. Does the Bible there say that God created all animals to eat plants? But some animals don't eat plants, right? So we have a problem, don't we? Is the Bible wrong? No, but let's work through this. The question is, if dinosaurs were created to eat plants, why did some eat meat? Not only some. Most dinosaurs did not eat meat. Most dinosaurs have plant-eating teeth, either teeth that are flat so they can grind it up, or teeth that are sharp so they can slice it. I've seen lots of dinosaur teeth. Some of them ate meat. The reason for this is that after God created the world, when God first created the world, there was nothing was dying. There was no death, there was no cancer, there's no disease, there's no sickness, there's no hunger. But then when Adam rebelled against God, Adam took the fruit from the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and he ate it. And God told him not to. And when he did that, God said, cursed is the ground because of you. In pain you shall eat of it all the days of your life. This is called the curse. When God said, all right, Adam, the world is now a terrible place, and you have to live in it. Well, animals that live in terrible places get hungry. And when you're hungry, how many times has mom given you something really yucky and you didn't want to eat it? Yeah, but then you get hungry. What if mom kept putting that same yucky thing in front of you every single meal for a week, and you're getting hungrier and hungrier? You're going to finally eat it, right? Now, mom's not that mean. You know that. But you're eventually going to eat even that thing you don't want to eat, because hungry people eat. Hungry animals eat also. And just because an animal might have been created to eat plants doesn't mean he's not going to eat something else when he's hungry. And this is something in the fossil record. We've been told all these years that the theropod dinosaurs were meat eaters. But just over the last couple of years, we've realized these amazing things. When a dinosaur is found in the fossil record, might find like on a cliff, here's a dinosaur stuck in the rocks. In the past, the scientists would go and they chisel the bones out of the rock and bring the bones back to the museum. They don't do that anymore. They will stop before they touch the rock. They'll stop and look at the rock. And they say, wait a minute. Oh, sometimes you can see the shape of the animal's body because it was buried before it rotted. It was still not by a meteor, by Noah's flood. He was buried in the floodwaters, and it rotted after it got buried, which means it stained the rock. Ugh. But once they realize that, they say, wait a minute, there's the heart. There's the liver. That's the stomach of the dinosaur. Now they can cut this part of the rock out, and that's what the dinosaur had for breakfast. And when they can polish the rock and then look out under a microscope, and they found that most of the theropods, the supposed meat-eating dinosaurs, not bones. Most of them were eating plants, despite the fact they had sharp, pointy teeth. Let's use bears as an example. I live in Georgia, in the United States, in the southeast, In our mountains, we have a lot of black bears. Now, they're a problem because people build houses and the black bears come and rip apart their garbage cans. But if there are no people, when a black bear has no people around, almost everything it eats is plants. But if you go far to the north, you run into polar bears. Polar bears don't eat plants. Almost everything a polar bear eats is meat. Seals, fish, people that can't run very fast. Polar bears are fierce predators, meat-eating carnivores. The problem is this: the black bear has the same teeth the polar bear has. Black bears have the same claws that polar bears have. The claws and teeth that God gave to bears to eat plants can also be used to eat meat. God didn't create them to eat meat. He created them to eat plants, but because when bears started moving north and they got into these giant ice fields where there's no plants, they got hungry. He said, hey, let's take a little snack out of that seal over there. I wonder how it tastes. And they learned how to eat meat after the fact. You okay with that? Okay. Oh, but we see lots of evidence of meat eating in the fossil record. This is 2 tailbones of a duck-billed hadrosaur, 2 tailbones, and in between the 2 tailbones is a Tyrannosaurus rex tooth. Ooh. So the plant-eating dinosaur got attacked by a T-Rex. The tooth broke off inside its spine, but then it healed up. So it survived the attack of the T-Rex and then walked around the rest of his life in pain because it had a tooth in his backbone. Ouch. But that's the fossil record. The fossil record is produced by Noah's flood. And Noah's flood came about because the earth was full of violence. And God said, I don't like this anymore. I'm going to restart everything. So he flooded the world, and all the animals that came off Noah's Ark are the ones we see now, and people that came off Noah's Ark. The world today is a lot safer than it was before the flood. And therefore, the flood buried the fossils that came from the world before the flood, so there's lots of violence in the fossil record. I know that's creepy, but it's also kind of cool, isn't it? Okay, wait a minute. Is there any evidence that dinosaurs died in a flood? I thought they died in a meteor explosion. Well, hey, look at this. You've probably seen pictures of dinosaurs in this pose, like this. Why are dinosaurs like that? When a cow or a dog or a chicken or a squirrel or whatever, they don't do that when they die. They kind of get floppy and they can whatever. But we find most of the dinosaurs that we find have what's called the dead dinosaur posture. And it's a big mystery that has recently been solved. Because some scientists realize that when you take a chicken, or if a bird drowns, it does that. See, they have a muscle that runs down the neck and down the tail. Chickens don't have tails, but reptiles have long tails. That muscle holds the head up. So your chicken doesn't have to hold his head up as he's picking the ground. He has this muscle there. It's kind of like a rubber band that holds his head up for him. And dinosaurs had a long tail as a counterbalance for their long head. Smart. But when you take an animal with that long rubbery muscle and drown it, that muscle pulls up, and that's what happens. So when we see pictures of dinosaurs like that, we instantly realize that dinosaur drowned. Didn't die in a meteorite impact. He drowned in Noah's flood. And now that explains why so many dinosaurs are buried with fish and clams. Clams. Dinosaurs drowned in the ocean as the ocean came up onto the land. Oh no, Noah's got a problem. How does Noah fit giant dinosaurs on the ark? How? Does it mean the Bible's not true? No. Thank you for answering the question in the back. I appreciate that. We're going to keep on going though. Oh, you think you know the answer? Oh, so we could have taken this row of dinosaurs and not that row of dinosaurs. Because the smaller dinosaurs take up less space. You have another answer? I cannot hear you. He could have taken the smaller species within each kind. Remember the ceratopsid thing I showed you earlier, all different ceratopsid dinosaurs? Protoceratops is like the size of a dog. He could have taken the smaller ones. Or, here's a Compsognathus. He's a chicken-sized dinosaur. Most dinosaurs were little. Some dinosaurs were big. Most of them were not big. We don't hear about the little ones because they're kind of boring. The big ones are scary. That's why we hear about them. But dinosaurs come out of eggs. Most dinosaur eggs are smaller than ostrich eggs. So an animal that would have a hard time fitting in this room came out of something smaller than an ostrich egg. So I don't think Noah took dinosaur eggs on board, but he could have taken hatchlings. He could have taken babies, juveniles. He doesn't have to take great-great-great-grandpa dinosaur. Take a little one who's still kind of small. But wait a minute. How many of each kind of animal did Noah take on the ark? Right? Took 2 of each kind of animal. Okay. How many kinds of dinosaurs are there? About a million. Oh, interesting. Actually, there's only about 600 named species of dinosaurs. Only. But those dinosaurs can be broken up into about 50 basic groups, kinds of dinosaurs. And if Noah has to take 2 of each kind, 2 times 50 is 100. He only has to take about 100 dinosaurs onto Noah's ark to explain all the different types of dinosaurs. And yet, the ark is really, 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 really big. So even if he had to take the big ones, there's still plenty of room. It's actually not really a problem. But that's how we fit dinosaurs on Noah's ark, any one of those ways. Oh, but man, when we look at the fossil record, a reproduction of the largest bird ever found. It's a condor. I've held a California condor on my arm at a wildlife center. A condor has the largest wingspan of any bird on earth. It's longer than my arms. 2 meters, almost 2 meters. There's a giant bird, but the California condor today, its wingspan is less than 1 wing of the ancient condors. Why did birds get smaller? The biggest things ever lived are in the past. There used to be penguins that were 2 meters tall. There used to be platypuses that were twice as big as the ones that are here in Australia. The giant wolves, the giant bears, the giant armadillos, the giant kangaroos, the giant wombats. These are things in the past. Things today are smaller. Why are things smaller? Well, there's several reasons. I'm going to answer it instead. 1, big animals tend to wait longer before they have children. They take longer to develop. That means that they're more likely to die before they have children. Big animals also need more food, a lot more food. Smaller animals do a lot better during a drought or a famine. The large ones are the ones that die first. So large animals are always threatened with extinction. So elephants are having a problem. There are not enough elephants in the world. Everyone's worried the elephants might go extinct. But mice will never go extinct. They're just not going to. So, what happened to dinosaurs after the flood? Well, if Noah took big dinosaurs with him, the big dinosaurs would have had to wait longer before they laid eggs, which means they're more likely to die. They would have needed more food, which was problems during the world after the flood as droughts and famines are coming along. So it just might simply be they just died off because the big animals all died. Interesting. But is there any evidence that people saw dinosaurs? There is a little bit. I'm going to give you some of my best evidences. Some of the things that my creationist colleagues present, I'm not really a big fan of. I'm going to give you my favorite ones, though. This is a tomb of a man buried in England 600 years ago. This is 400 years before we supposedly discovered dinosaurs. So dinosaurs, no one knew what a dinosaur was when this man was buried. And in his tomb, there's this rectangle that goes around it made of brass. And in this rectangle are etched these animals. Look, there's a bat, a dog, a fish, a bird. Right? Did I get those wrong? Okay, right next to those is this. What's that? That looks like a sauropod. Look, he's standing up. there's actually two of them. Their necks are wrapped around each other. This one has spikes on his tail, like Spinosaurus. Huh. Here's another example of that from ancient Mesopotamia. Two dinosaur-like animals with their necks wrapped around each other. Now, they look like their necks are too long and their tails are too long, but it looks like Tanistropheus. Crazy. Here's another one. This is in a temple in Cambodia, far, far away. But this temple has carvings all around it. There's people, there's Buddhas, there's water buffaloes, there's monkeys, and then this thing. What does that look like to you? Is that a stegosaurus? It sure looks like a stegosaurus. But it can't be a stegosaurus because they supposedly went extinct millions of years ago. Or maybe they didn't. Maybe people really did see some and left us some evidence of what they saw. Buried in the fossil record are many, 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 many mammals. There are fossils that look like flying squirrels. There are fossils, I've said already, platypuses. That's a platypus jaw, by the way. See that groove right there? That's for the giant nerve that runs to the front bill of the platypus, so he can shut his eyes and look in the rivers for mud and for worms and snails and things with his eyes shut. He can sense electrical things with his bill. It needs a giant nerve, and that is a platypus jaw. This is something that looks like a badger. In his belly is a baby dinosaur. So not only were mammals living with dinosaurs, mammals were eating dinosaurs. Here's a beaver-like creature. Here's a hedgehog-like, It's the shape of a hedgehog. It's the size of a hedgehog. And hedgehogs have, those pointy little hairs a hedgehog has? They're not porcupines. They're not spiny anteaters. They're different. Their hairs are unique. No other animal in the world has hairs like a hedgehog. But in this rock are hedgehog hairs. So next time we see a big dinosaur scary movie, there better be hedgehogs running in the bush underneath it because they live with dinosaurs. Here's another one. This mammal is a Rapanomamus robustus, I think is the name. Not only is he attacking a dinosaur, that's a Psittacosaurus. He's wrapped around it, attacking it, but they were buried in at the same time. Oh, this is amazing. This is a rock about this big. And in this rock, there are footprints of a sauropod. There are footprints of pterosaurs. There's a nodosaur, which is an ankylosaur footprint. There's a coprolite. That's a piece of fossilized dung. I mean, there's a bunch of cows. I can smell the cows. There's a bunch of cows around here, right? The stuff the cow leaves behind, does that ever turn to stone? No. As soon as it rains, it mushes and washes away. And yet we have thousands upon, in fact, I have one on my mantelpiece at home. Petrified dinosaur dung. How does that stuff petrify? Well, it got buried in Noah's flood in mineral-laden mud, and the minerals soaked into the stuff and turned it to stone. We also have an osteoderm, which is a skin bone. You don't have bones in your skin. Alligators do. Crocodiles do. And so do dinosaurs. They're armor-plated. And then in blue, we have footprints of mammals, little mammals, running around at the same time as the dinosaurs because they lived with the dinosaurs, because there was never it didn't exist. The mammals were there at the same time. Now let's talk about birds for a little bit. Birds have feathers, correct? Birds have teeth. No, they don't. No, they don't. Birds don't have teeth. They have beaks. What's the difference between a beak and a jaw? You have a jaw. You don't have a beak. This. You can't lift your upper jaw. But the palate is at the top of your mouth. The bone there, for a bird is not attached. And it can slide forward and backwards, which means a bird can raise its upper jaw. That's a beak. A beak is made of keratin, similar to what my fingers and nails are made of. But underneath the beak is bones. Birds have bones in their face. Some of the birds buried in the ancient past have teeth, real teeth. But they're not like dinosaur teeth. They look more like dolphin teeth. They're shaped like a little peg. It's really strange, weird looking little teeth. Some of them have claws on their wings. There's some modern birds with claws on their wings. You know the wing of a bird is his hand, right? Do you know that? So it's his hand, his fingers are in there, and sometimes there's claws on the end. Well, the Hoatzin is a bird in South America. The little baby Hoatzins have claws. They can't fly yet, but they climb all over the trees using their hands with their claws. But something else weird about the Hoatzin, remember? Birds have a keel. This one doesn't. It has a flat breastbone like a lot of the ancient birds. And genetics tells us that these are not like any other bird alive today. As if some of those birds that are buried with dinosaurs are still alive. Because they look just like that. Oh, look at this one. Can you see the feathers? Can feathers be preserved in rocks? Yeah, look at that. Notice, there's no tail. What's that thing called on the end of a bird? Pygostyle. Yeah. Okay, so we have a little thing right there and then long feathers. He's got wings. He has a beak. You know what a beak is now? This is an ancient bird buried with dinosaurs. But it's a bird. It's not a dinosaur. The only bird we've ever found that has an egg inside of it in the fossil record, there's only one we've ever found. But that egg has multiple layers of eggshell. A chicken will do this. If you don't let the chicken roost, and you just keep on chasing it for a couple of days, every day it'll lay down another eggshell around its egg. You can get a multi-shelled egg from a chicken. That's not nice. You don't want to do that, but it can happen. This bird, the only one we've ever found, could not find a place to rest. It was caught up in Noah's flood. It had nowhere to roost, and when it died, the egg had not yet been laid. That's really cool. Sad, but still really cool. Here's another bird. Can you see the little chicken legs here? See the feathers? Something else, the middle part of this bird is preserved. This is weird, because think about the way you breathe. Air goes in, air goes out. But it only goes down about this far. Your lungs are like two balloons. They swell up, they collapse. They swell up, they collapse. You have a muscle here called a diaphragm. When it pulls down, your lungs inflate. Reptiles have that too. Alligators, snakes, lizards, they breathe like we do. They have a bellows-like lung. Birds don't do that. A bird breathes really, really weird. The air might go in and out the nostrils of a bird, but instead of going in and out the lungs like this, it goes behind the lungs, goes up through the bottom, goes all the way through the lung, and comes out. They breathe in a circle. They go like this. When they breathe in, a packet of air comes down here into a big bellows. When they breathe out, the packet of air goes into their lungs. They breathe in again, the packet of air goes into some other bellows up here, and when they breathe out, that's when this air comes out. It's a 4-part breathing system. That's really complicated. And instead of having two balloons, there's just a pipe. So when a dinosaur would have breathed, the dinosaur would have gone like we do, moving his diaphragm in and out. But if if birds evolved from dinosaurs, then a hole would have had to appear in the bottom of a dinosaur lung, and then it would have died. You can't evolve a bird lung from a dinosaur lung. But if evolution is true, that had to happen. But it can't happen, therefore evolution is not true. Birds, I love birds. But when I was younger, when I was your age, I thought evolution was true. Honestly, I didn't know anything about the Bible. I'm actually jealous of you because you get to go to this school. I did not learn what you're learning here at this school when I was growing up. I had to unlearn a lot. And I remember seeing pictures of the family tree of all the dinosaurs. There we go, all these dinosaurs. And then going back in time in the fossil record, we have all the way back to a single common ancestor, and dinosaurs evolved from that. It's actually not true. Can you see the dotted lines and the gray lines? Those are things they're guessing about. Let's erase all the guesses. What do you see? I see the stegosaurs. I see the ceratopsids, I see different sauropods, I see the theropods, but look, There's no evolutionary connection between them. They're there in the fossil record. They're there in the fossil record. These guys are there. There's no evidence of evolution. The evidence of evolution is in the mind of the scientists who believe in evolution. The fossil record doesn't say it. Okay. What's our time looking like? 24 after. Let's spend some time answering questions. I can talk for another hour. I'm going to leave. In fact, let's find a nice picture to park on here. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Let's leave it at that picture. That's a great picture. That's a Pachycephalosaurus, a baby. Let's take some time to answer some questions. A baby Pachycephalosaurus. I just talked a lot. I used a lot of big words, but I'm thinking some of you didn't quite understand some of the things I said, or maybe you thought of something else while I was speaking. So, can we do some questions? Okay, remember, don't speak until I call on you. Who's got the first question? Well, little man, you had your hand up first. The first picture I put up was a Brachiosaurus? Yeah. Brachiosauruses are cool animals. They're the long sauropod-like dinosaurs. Again, we're going to work backwards in the crowd. Yes? Yes? Hello? Are these questions? Remember, questions end in question. Okay, you have a question? Say it louder. You have a favorite dinosaur? Okay, what is your favorite dinosaur? Oh, well, wait a minute. If it has wings, it's not a dinosaur. Remember what I said earlier? When I first started off, the flying reptiles are another group of extinct reptiles. They're not technically dinosaurs. Is it Quetzalcoatlus? Rhynchosaurus? Which one? Pterodactylus? Oh, okay, Pterodactylus. Me too. I think they're really cool. What's funny was, for a long time, no one knew how pterodactyls could fly. It made no sense. The way they're built, like they can't fly, but then they discovered a little bone right here. And that bone makes an extra triangle of wing. And it was just enough to allow them to get off the ground. Yes. It would be really hard. They probably had to climb to something and jump off to be able to fly. Yes. Yeah? I love T-Rexes. I have a skull and an office of a T-Rex. My goal in life is to be on a dinosaur dig and dig up a T-Rex. So yeah, I think it might be my favorite too. Sir? Hey everybody. Everyone's making little noises and I can't hear him talk. Okay, sir, talk louder. Go ahead. Have I been to a dinosaur museum? I've been to many. In fact, I was at one just last week in Denver, Colorado. In fact, I was at a little dinosaur museum run by a little family, and it was the best one I've ever been to. Because you go right up to it, and you can look at these and they were like, yeah, go right up to it. And so you can look at the little details in the teeth and the eyeballs. And yes, and I've been to Fern Bank in Atlanta, New York Museum of Natural History, the Field Museum in Chicago. I've been to a lot of dinosaur museums. Love dinosaur fossils. Okay, we're going back. Yes. Yes, you, yes. How many dinosaur? I can't hear you. Oh, how many parts do I have at my house? Not many. Most of the fossils, I have shelves of fossils. Most of them are Ice Age fossils. I have mammoth teeth. I have a giant sloth backbone. I have a skin sample of a glyptodont. I have deer and alligator, and I have lots of fossil corals because as a marine biologist, I've collected a lot of coral fossils around the world. But I have a dinosaur tooth and a dinosaur dung on my mantle, and that's it. It's very sad. I need to go collect some more. Yes. How big is the biggest fossil bird? Oh, that I have? I don't think I have any fossil birds. I can't quite hear you. Oh. Oh, the biggest fossil in my collection is probably a fossil coral. I knew that underneath Golden Gate, Florida, there was a coral reef, and I saw that they were digging a lake for a subdivision and building, and it was a Saturday and nobody was there. So I kind of drove onto the property, and I saw that this back was piling up a bunch of stuff. And I pulled these giant coral fossils out and put them in my truck and drove them home. Sir. What's the what recorded dinosaur? Not including. Oh, the neck. The biggest dinosaur that I'm aware of was found in, I think, Argentina. It might be Argentinosaurus, it might be Seismosaurus, but they only found, actually, it was a neck bone. But it was this giant neck bone, and when they said, okay, if that's how big this one bone is, the dinosaur was really big. But there's so many other examples of big dinosaurs, I wouldn't know where to start. Some of them are just so massive, it's unbelievable. But then you said not including the neck, so I don't know what to say. You got me. Yes. How big is the biggest dinosaur? Carnivore. Oh, today or in the fossil record? Okay, in the fossil record. Well, the biggest carnivore that I'm aware of would have been, I think, Allosaurus. I think that's bigger than T-Rex, if I got it right. I know that when they found the largest bear ever in Europe, it was a giant cave bear, they were shocked because they took samples of the bone, they looked at the isotopes in the bone, and they said, oh, this thing ate plants. And it was a, what? Everyone thought it was a meat eater, but it wasn't. But I think it's Allosaurus, but a dinosaur expert is probably going to correct me there. Okay, how are we doing for time? Okay, you want to come close? Okay, thank you everybody so much. I hope you learned something. I hope you're a little encouraged, but science is really fun.